A very good morning to all of you. We have been talking about chapter 2 of Eagleton's book, Marxism and Literary Criticism. And during the previous lecture, we understood certain things related to form and content with reference to George Lucas's views on form and content in his essay, The Evolution of Modern Drama. So Eagleton refers to Lucas and his belief. He believed that the truly social element in literature is the form. And then he talks about Marx's view. Marx preferred what we call the combination of both form and content, a unity of form and content. Further, he refers to Hegelian idea of the artistic tradition and stages of its development. So we talked about that as well, wherein Hegel, who was the German philosopher, in his work Philosophy of Fine Art, uh, had expressed the view that every definite content determines a form suitable to it. So content was at the center from Hegelian perspective. So content finds its appropriate embodiment in form. That's what we understood in the previous lecture. Now we shall go ahead with the differences and similarities in Hegel and Marx's aesthetic thoughts. Uh, Hegel gave priority to content, whereas Lucas gave priority to form. Marx did not adopt Hegel's aesthetic wholesale. Yes, he disagreed with Hegel. When we talk about Hegel's aesthetic view, they're idealist. Means Hegel's aesthetic views are idealist, and they tend to oversimplify. Okay, they are oversimplifying, drastically oversimplifying. Shared the belief that artistic form is no mere quirk, or it is not abrupt twist. Okay, both of them were of the same opinion in this regard. They thought that artistic form is the apparent structure. Whatever you see, for example, this slide is the form, and through this slide, the content is presented. For Hegel, both Hegel and Marx, form is not mere quirk. It is not mere abrupt twist on the part of the individual artist. They thought that forms are historically determined. These are historically determined. They are not simply artistic talent or an expression of the artist's talent, we can say, individual artist talent. Rather, they are historically determined by the kind of content they have to embody. Yes, somewhere I also agree with this particular opinion, because we observe that content, it is the content which determine the form. If the writer takes a decision related to the form based on the content. So historically, No, forms are determined by the kind of content they have to embody, they have to give shape to, and they are changed. Means forms are changed, transformed, broken down, and revolutionized as that content itself changes. You can equate it with what we call Marx's metaphor, base and superstructure. The superstructure itself is a kind of form, ideology, and this is determined by base. And as the base changes, the superstructure also changes. Same are the views related to artistic work. The form of the particular or given artistic work is determined by its content, and as the content changes, transforms, or the changes are made into the content, the form too changes. Therefore, we understand that content is prior to form. It is content which comes first, and form is the latter part, because it changes. It changes in society's material content. Means this refers to changes in the society's nature, society's material content. That is its mode of production, which determines the forms of its superstructure. The base, the mode of production is the base, and that determines its superstructure. Now you can understand it with the help of the examples of Hindi movies or Marathi movies. If you see the form of old Hindi movies, they are drastically different from the forms of new Hindi movies that we see today. Now that will give you an idea regarding the society's material content. And that itself means the mode of production determines the superstructure, that is form. As the society changed, the form of presentation also changed. The form of presenting the things also changed. So it is the content which determines the form. The form itself, with reference to Frederick Jameson, who talked about it in his Marxism and Form of 1971. Form itself is but the working out of content. Frederick Jameson remarked this in his essay, Marxism and Form. What he said, form itself is but the working out of content. The content is presented in the form of the form, in the realm of the superstructure. Form itself is actual working out, a functioning of the content, which can be seen in the superstructure. But some critics believe that form and content are inseparable, and the distinction between form and content is artificial. Okay, there are different opinions. Okay, but what Hegel and Marx thought, go alike. Especially Marx was of the opinion that it is the content which determines the form. But there are some other critics who think that both are inseparable. You cannot separate them. They are one and same. So according to Hegel, content is nothing but the transformation of form into content. And form is nothing but the transformation of content into form. For Hegel, form and content are one and same. Whereas some critics thought that no, form and content are two different things. It is the content which determines the form. Now, when we think from Hegelian perspective, if form and content are inseparable in practice, they are theoretically distinct then. Now, you might be knowing formalists gave priority to form, whereas existentialists and other such playwrights gave importance to content. So there can be theoretical distinction as well. Therefore, we are able to talk of the varying relations between form and content. Of course, you must have realized by now that it is not easy to grasp this distinction. But when we talk about these relations in the context of Marxist criticism, we understand that they believed in their dialectical relationship. It means that the content was primary in their perspective. And this content is crucial in determining the form. Now, here is an example of Ralph Fox in his The Novel and the People. This is his work, his essay, maybe. He declares that form is produced by content. It is identical and one with it. Form is produced by its content, and it is the part of the content itself. Form cannot be dissimilar, different from its content. Of course, there is a kind of primacy in the in the context of content itself. Content is primary. Although this is the case, form reacts on content and never remains passive. Form changes according to its content. It does not remain passive. So when we talk about the Marxist dialectical conception of the form and content relationship, we can understand that they are set against two opposed positions. Now, what are these opposed positions? On the one hand, it attacks the formalist school, which started with Russian formalism in the 1920s. Later, we refer to Roman Jakobson's and Prague school. These formalists emphasized the form, but Marxist idea of form and content relationship is an attack on the one hand on this particular school of thought. So the formalist thought, now when we talk about with reference to Christopher Caldwell, we are understanding these issues. The formalist thought that content is merely a function of form. So it is exactly opposite to Marxist ideology or Marxist thinking. For Marxist, it is the content which determines the form, but for the formalist, content is merely a function of form. For them, the content of a poem is selected merely to reinforce the technical device the poem deploys. So this is exactly opposite to Marxist perspective of looking at the content. They gave secondary importance to content and primacy to form. Further, this particular school, formalist school, criticizes the vulgar Marxist notion. What is this notion? That artistic form is merely an artifice. Vulgar Marxist thought that artistic form is irrelevant. It is simply a decoration, a display of your art. externally impose on the turbulent content of history itself. That's what they thought. Form is just appearance, it is externally imposed, it is not the part of content. Form is imposed upon the turbulent, the conflicting content of history itself. And this position is found in Christopher Caldwell's essay, Studies in a Dying Culture of 1938. In this book, he distinguishes between what he calls social being. The social being is the vital, intellectual stuff of human experience. Okay, and he also talks about a society's form of consciousness. He distinguishes between social being and the society's forms of consciousness. Now, what is social being? It is the intellectual stuff, vital intellectual stuff of human experience, that is content. And then what we show in our social behavior, that is society's form of consciousness. And Marxist critics, especially like Caldwell, are of the opinion that revolution occurs when those forms, consciousness, become ossified and absolute. Absolute means out of use, are burst asunder by the dynamic, chaotic flood of social being itself. The social forms, for example, class, caste, etc., are the society's form of consciousness, or what we call religion. These are the forms, and they are thrown away by the social being itself on many occasions when they become outdated, obsolete. So Caldwell thinks of social being, that is content, as inherently formless. Now you can understand it in the context of certain people, who do not believe in superstructure, any kind of superstructure. They don't believe in traditions. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in other systems. Okay. So social beings means our content, they are inherently formless. When we think about man, for example, now let's understand. We are born in a particular environment, social environment, cultural environment, religious environment, and we grow up thinking like that. If the same person is kept in some other environment, okay, that person may think of differently or grow up differently. So social being is basically formless. And further he says forms are inherently restrictive. That's what I tried to state here. Environment it determines your nature, your form, your behavior, your ideologies. That's what Caldwell thought. Now Eagleton comes here. According to Eagleton, Caldwell lacks a sufficiently dialectical understanding of the relations at issue. According to him, Caldwell, Caldwell does not see that form does not merely process the raw material of content. Form is not simply the processing part, because that content, whether social or literary, is for Marxism already informed. It has a significant structure. So, what Eagleton says about Caldwell is that, about Caldwell's view, is that a variant of the bourgeois critical commonplace, that art organizes the chaos of reality. So Caldwell's view is simply the variant of bourgeois critical ideology. What is that ideology? That art organizes the chaos of reality. Okay. So he sees at ideological significance as chaotic. So that itself is problematic. Therefore, he criticizes Caldwell for such perception. Now we shall talk about the next part, the inner logic of content, in the next part of my lecture.